shift gears here now, talk about the stalemate in the Senate, where they're trying to divide 316.5 billion shillings to the counties. It seems to be a tall order there. For the 7th record time, they couldn't come to a consensus, and the House was adjourned up until Tuesday. Joining me now is Senator Isaac Mwaura. Senator, thank you so much for making time for us. Why is this such a problem in the Senate?
People are playing politics of brinkmanship. Like you could see yesterday, Kipchumba Murkomen was very keen to showcase that he's kind of a better leader than Pogisho, and that's why he moved the adjournment motion. So you have all of those. There are those who felt like they should have been given the position of majority leader, including Johnson Sakaja, and you can see how they are behaving. And also the fact that the work of a senator is basically to bring monies to their counties and to oversight it. So when you are seen to be the one who lost during your tenure, then you failed in your job. Those are some of the things, and also over and above that, the 2022 succession politics. All of these are coming into play, plus, of course, issues to do with proper organization of the two emergent camps, so that then you see one is more organized than the other. It's basically just about that.
So are you likely to get a consensus even by Tuesday, because you failed to strike a deal as a Senate 7 record times?
It's a shame. It's a shame, Trevor. It's a shame that the Senate of the Republic of Kenya is dithering and is kicking the can down the road. I don't think, in my opinion, if things stand as they were yesterday, because last time when we adjourned last Tuesday, there were a lot of hopes that then we would make a difference this Tuesday. But what exactly happened is that the Murkomen side realized that the other side had numbers by dint of delegations. But then when he introduced a motion for adjournment, it is a motion that everybody votes without delegating anybody. Like for me in Kiambu, we are two senators there. And so therefore, if it's a delegation, one of us would vote. But if it's not delegation, everybody of the 67 would vote. Yesterday, we had 60 votes out of 67 in the Senate. So that is exactly, an issue about numbers. But then there is a substantive issue about which formula, because the Sakaja formula needs to be dismissed with the contempt it deserves, because it is basically rephrasing the 2009, population census results, which were cooked. A county like Mandera had 3 males to 1 female, and in fact it has since reduced by 15% based on the current population of 2019 census. So we don't have an agreed upon formula. That's what I'm trying to say in short, because Trevor, on one hand you have the committee report, which is basically proposing the figures as has been postulated widely, but also postponing the implementation to 1 year. Then you have the Sakaja discredited proposal, which would occasion a new allocation of 633 billion for the new formula to take effect. The Kangata one was defeated because it was postponing the implementation to July of 2022. Then there are other permutations which are even worse, like the one for Olekina, which would see 38 counties not gaining any money, and then other new ones. There's even one that is phased implementation of the new formula, and it has been desegregated to showcase that if we got 12 billion extra, it would have made a difference. But you see now, the challenge is that if then we are to unlock this process, it's a question of how you lobby. It's a question of how government puts its foot on the ground and how it puts its act together on one hand. But also, there is a looming question of whether we could increase monies to counties through a supplementary. And I know right now we have challenges around our budget because of our debt stock and debt servicing, at the macro level. And that is not something that has been properly, canvassed. And especially one of the things that we're asking ourselves is if you can misappropriate funds by single sourcing PPEs at 7 billion to a new company, really, if counties need 10, 20 billions more out of a 2.7 trillion budget, is it not plausible to unlock these AMPAs by providing for such monies? But otherwise, we from the populous counties, and I in particular from Kiambu County, we continue with our mantra of 1 man, 1 vote, 1 shilling. and we are not relenting because we can see the injustice that is being perpetrated by those who are claiming that they are losing money. Why am I saying so, Trevor? Because if you look at, for example, the combined counties of Mount Kenya region, 5 of them, they are getting a total allocation of 30.2 billion, as compared to 5 counties of Garissa, Mandera, Wajir, Isiolo, and Marsabit getting 44.4 billion. Even if you are to postpone for 2 years, we'll have still lost 28 billion. That's a lot of money. You cannot, for example, justify why the counties are 2.9 million Kenyans, and the Kiambu alone has got 2.417 million Kenyans. Those 3 are getting 25 billion, as we are getting 9.4 billion, and yet even our wage bill is 8 billion. I mean, there must also be equality of Kenyans. There are no half Kenyans or a quarter Kenyans, because for one Kenyan in those counties, it accounts for the amount of money gotten is actually 4 or 5 times. It's not acceptable.
Senator, how do you justify that some counties will then have 27 of them, to be exact, will have increased revenue and 19 will have reduced revenue from that formula that you're pushing? Is it a fair and just formula? Is there fiscal equality there?
There's not going to be fiscal equality, Trevor, because if you want to have fiscal equality, the best thing you can do is to divide the monies equally to 47 counties. And please, it's good to clarify that an injustice is already being committed by the current formula, which has got fake 2009 census. And at the same time, how do you, for example, explain a county like Kilifi, 4 million people, getting 10 billion, and a county like Kiambu with 2.4 million people getting 9 billion? What mathematics explains there? You know, if you look at the formula clearly, people are saying it is purely on the basis of population. It's not true. A county like Turkana, if we went purely on population as a parameter, they would only get 6 billion. They are getting 10 billion. So they have 4 billion as a headroom to deal with marginalization. Further to this, whether you have one person in a county or 100,000 or 10 million, you require a basic share of 2.7 billion to successfully run a county because of the, perceived, basic infrastructure and architecture, for that matter, with regards to the existence of a county assembly, the county executive, and such other, institutions of governance. So 2.7 billion is a minimum, and every county is getting that. Anything above that should basically be guided by Schedule 4 of the Constitution, which really calls for the functions that are service-based, and you give services to people, Trevor. So I think personally, I don't know it's a fair formula, and it needs to be relooked in case of anything to be adjusted. But as at now, it is people-centric and therefore should be implemented. We cannot delay further development of other counties so that others can catch up in the mantra of delaying the horse for the donkey to catch up. I don't think, addressing all marginalization by creating new ones is a very good thing. It's actually an eye for an eye, which will make the whole world blind. In fact, it is some form of convoluted, tortuous, retributive justice.
Senator Mora, it is that exact same mantra that you're using is the reason why many argue that these 19 counties who are getting reduced revenue should not. You cannot delay the horse for the donkey to catch up, you say, but these are areas that have been marginalized over time. 1 shilling in Kiambu cannot be compared with 1 shilling in Kilifi because the dynamics for the person in Kilifi is very different because of the years of marginalization. So that cannot be the argument, surely, Senator.
I agree with you, because 1 shilling in Kiambu is being shared by 5 people. If you are to compare with a combination of other factors in a multiplicity of counties with a similar population. And that is why we are saying, give what is required to the counties that are heretofore not properly addressed. Because you cannot say a road that was constructed in 1965 is still in existence. It has since been dilapidated. You go to a home, you give people food according to the number of the inhabitants in the house. At least KNBS Trevor is telling us we are 3.9, which makes it 4. And so, therefore, you cannot say that then there has not been increase in service, demand, because then some place is developed. Even if it is a hospital, the mere existence of a hospital 5 kilometers from where you are does not necessarily mean access to service, because if you do not have medicine in there, if we do not have the medics like the ones we've seen, downing their tools, I think, is it in Homa Bay County, or the county that we've just seen? It doesn't add up. It doesn't add up. And that's why we are saying, let us look at all the parameters correctly. We in Mount Kenya region feel like we are highly disadvantaged with regards to the current formula, the second generation formula, but also we are highly underrepresented. 12 million people have 67 legislators in the National Assembly. I mean, is that really fair? Well, when you come to the issues of CDF, 100 million for a place like where I come from in Ruiru, with 490,120 residents. The same case with 160,000 voters. The same case would apply for Eldas with 18,000 voters, or Turkana East with 15,600. Is that really fair? Or Balambala in 20,000. So let us not really try to imagine that the only way that we can resolve this matter is by kind of being seen to take monies from people who have higher needs and taking them to the lower needs because of marginalization. There is the issue of equalization fund. An equalization fund, as provided for in Article 204, is for infrastructural development, water, electricity, health, and roads. And it should be properly implemented so that it caters for the deficit that arises from such kind of allocations. What we are saying is that let a fair allocation be given fairly to that county. Because if you are not receiving monies ab initio since independence, and that is actually also contestable, then you should receive it now. Because when you say that these counties have been marginalized for the last 50 years, surely, sometimes I wonder, because this is a lure for the presidency. We are saying, if then the devolution was to cure the allure for the presidency, we are saying fair enough. What is good for the goose is good for the gander. We also agree in the same way. If tomorrow Central Kenya is not in the presidency, which is likely to happen, then the only way the only recourse is to have monies in devolution. And further to this, I think it is important to say that you cannot say that Central Kenya has been in government forever, because for 24 good years, President Daniel Toroitich arap Moi ruled this country. So if you accounted, for example, for the dilapidation of the infrastructure, for the slowdown in the economy, especially in commodity prices, when it comes to tea, coffee, and all of that, and that's actually when they went down, that tells you there are high levels of poverty. If you look at land use and management, our land has been decimated to small portions that are unviable. We are literally having Trevor slums in our villages. Yeah. People are living in very deplorable conditions, and they need to be addressed. And the only way to do so is to ensure that you allocate a fair amount of money that would see that county governments are able to perform their role. But having also said that, Trevor, it's good to conclude that we as senators agree on one thing. That first and foremost is that we demanded for more money, but the governors failed us, because if we had gotten 10, 20 billion more, this problem would not be as it is right now. So that's a failure on the part of governors, or rather the collusion that happened at IBEC with the executives. But also is that there are weak oversight mechanisms. Most of these governors are stealing money and returning it to the center in Nairobi, where it first came from. So this oversight needs to be strengthened, and also there is need to ensure that we increase, we do not over-rely on the equitable share on the part of counties, so that they can also generate their own source of revenue. Eventually, I believe we are going to agree, because we have one Kenya. It's just a country having a conversation with itself.
All right. Thank you so much for speaking to us this morning, Senator Isaac Mwaura there, just making the heads and tails of this discussion that has stalled for the 7th record time. The Senate is set to reconvene again on Tuesday. We'll see whether they strike a deal then. We're taking a quick break here on Daybreak. When we come back, we're still continuing with the same conversation. We'd like to hear from you as well. Use the hashtag Daybreak at Trevor Mbija at Citizen TV Kenya. What do you see in this whole melee? What then is the way forward based on what you think as one of the county residents there? We'd like to hear from you. I'll sample some of your views during this broadcast. But for now, we're taking a quick break. I hope you can get your mug of chai or uji like the one that I have. See you shortly.